Hey guys, CEO Kanan here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another monthly marketing tip. And today I want to talk to you about cultivating a good reader experience and how that can help you sell more books. As authors, we want to make sure that our readers have the best time reading our books, that they remember us and the stories that we tell with fondness, and that they recommend the book to others so we can grow our readership. And while telling a story that touches every person who picks it up is nearly impossible, since reading is subjective and very personal, but there are areas of the publishing process that we do have more direct control over, and handling these areas with care can lead to more positive experiences. So I'm going to go over what I believe to be some of the most important areas in this video. Okay, let's talk about cover. Having a pretty cover is all well and good, and it's true that your book's cover is one of the most effective marketing tools that you have. So making sure that your cover conveys the right message is just as important as how pretty it is. Readers look for specific fonts, imagery, and even color patterns when they're shopping for new books. This is mostly a subconscious thing, but making sure that your cover conveys key elements of other books in your genre is the best way to make sure that your book is picked up by the right readers. And that when a reader does pick up your book, the story inside is what they expect it to be. No one wants to pick up an epic fantasy and get a contemporary thriller, or pick up a rom-com with like a cartoon cover and get horror instead. This is why genre norms matter. So before deciding on a design for your book, map out all the key elements of your story and your genre and explore what other best-selling books with those elements have in common when it comes to cover design. That is also why choosing the right designer is so important. Find someone with experience who knows the genre norms and who can help guide you to a best-selling cover that meets reader expectations. Next is editing. No book can be completely free of errors, but ensuring your book has been edited by a professional and then looked over by several more eyes than your own is the best way to combat errors that could pull a reader out of the story or even make them put the book down. You don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to spend tons of money. I know not everyone can afford a developmental editor or 20 rounds of edits, but I do suggest saving enough to hire a good copy editor or a line editor. You can use tools like Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid, or the built-in spell check programs to pre-edit your book. Never, ever, ever send your book out to an editor without pre-editing. Some authors print out their story and they go over the print version with like a red pen. You can use the read aloud function to catch typos and errors. You can ask your alpha and beta readers to highlight problems for you. So the more eyes that you get on it, the better. The more you pre-edit your story, the cheaper your professional editing quote is likely to be, since most editors base their pricing on how clean the manuscript is in the first place. This also allows your editor to focus less on cleaning up basic errors like typos and grammar, and more time making your story the best that it can be. Of course, no matter how many eyes you have on it, there will always, always, always be a couple of errors that just slip through somehow. It's like magic. It happens every time. It even happens to traditionally published books, so don't sweat it. I actually include a note inside of my books with an email address where readers can submit their errors they find, and I can fix those and update the manuscript as quickly as possible and not have them reporting them to Amazon, which can get really annoying. All in all, it's worth the extra time spent to ensure your reader has a positive reading experience and that they can focus on your story and not all the times your fingers betrayed you and added an extra Y to something. Now let's talk about formatting. Formatting is something that I think a lot of authors mistake as being sort of a minor part of the reader experience, but it is in fact a huge deal. There's nothing that will make me buy a book quicker than seeing some fancy chapter headers, art, maps, elegant dividers. I'm a sucker for all those things. So while that's not a requirement for a good reader experience, it certainly helps endear print books to a reader, and especially a collector like me. There are several ways to format, and no one way is better than others as long as you know what you're doing and as long as you thoroughly test your results for multiple scenarios. I personally use Vellum to format, and I adore it. It is my favorite. It's quick. There's lots of standard features to choose from. It already handles all the accessibility issues for me by offering a limited number of fonts and presets that have been tested. No matter what program you use, though, or how fancy you get with your design, remember that you want to use fonts that are big enough for most people to read, fonts that have been licensed and can be embedded into your final files. And for ebooks, you want to make sure that your text, your pictures, dividers, and all of that are reflowable. They're properly sized. They have the proper DPI. and that they're able to be viewed in both light and dark modes, because no matter what you pick out, ebook features are controlled by the reader. A lot of people forget that. They're controlled by the reader and the device that the reader is using. It's also good to keep in mind that sighted people, they aren't the only people who are reading your ebooks. Provide alternative text for your images. Include a table of contents with linked chapters and subheadings. Make it easy to navigate no matter who is reading it. I talked about testing your ebook. You can do this by using Calibri, which is a free program that you can download for, I think, pretty much any platform, Windows, Mac, whatever. You can preview the book on multiple devices, and you can troubleshoot any problem areas. The last thing a reader wants to do is have to troubleshoot a technical problem while they're reading your book. And if there are too many issues, they're just going to give up and they're going to put it down altogether. And finally, let's talk about marketing. Marketing for your book will vary by your genre, your platform, and your comfort level. But marketing a book in a misleading or an incorrect way can have a big impact on the reader experience and ultimately the reviews. If you've sold the reader a story about a forbidden romance and an epic journey, but what's inside the pages of your book doesn't exactly fit that description, they're going to be disappointed. I can think of a really good example of this. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black is often marketed as like a fantasy enemies to lovers story, when in actuality, it does have some of those elements, but it's much more a political fantasy about a girl who's been forced into a life that she didn't choose, and how she takes her power back to become the queen of Elfham. I've seen many readers who were looking for a high-stakes rival romance and who were disappointed when the romance in that story wasn't the main focus. I was pleased. Like, I was pleasantly surprised because I loved it, because both of those things are my cup of tea, but I would be the exception and not the rule here. So we have to be very intentional with the ways that we describe our stories when we market them, and even when we're talking about comparable titles that we offer up to entice readers to read our stories. Because no one wants to be misled, especially not when they're investing their hard-earned money into something that they bought to entertain themselves. Okay, that's my marketing tip for March. I hope it helps you find ways to improve the experience for your readers. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about today's tip or marketing in general. You can email me at info@fiction-atlas.com with your questions, or you can check me out on the websites that are listed below. I hope you have a lovely month, and I will see you next time. Bye!